Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome. I'm Rob Doherty, and this is the FSTVS Podcast Executive Edition, supported by Libery Consulting and hosted by Julian Scott, the animation consultant for Film London. In this podcast series, we'll be chatting to the movers and the shakers in the animation industry, and discovering a little bit more about what they do, how they got there, their thoughts on the animation industry, and I hope get to meet the person behind that executive title. A quick request. If you're enjoying this podcast series with FSTVS, then we would love it if you would rate and subscribe, and if you so wish, share with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to check the back catalogue, where we speak to the likes of Kelsey Mann, Alex Wiseman, Philippe Alessandri, and many more top kids industry executives. Thank you so much. Dans l'épisode d'aujourd'hui, Julian parle à Lionel Marty, la légende première de la distribution de télévision pour enfants. Mais où tu as commencé pour Lionel? And why am I pretending that I speak French again? I think it's time to hand over to Julian and the all-singing and dancing Lionel Marty.
Lionel, you lead the award-winning Paris-based distribution company APC Kids. You started in international TV distribution in 1994 at Tele Images, before specialising in kids content in 1999 when you launched the distribution department of France Animation. After that, you were President Worldwide Distribution Consumer Products and Digital at Moonscoop, where you worked for 10 years before launching APC Kids. It's really good to be chatting with you today.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Julian, for inviting me to this chat.
Now, you and APC Kids are probably one of the best-known European distribution outfits, and you don't just distribute animation. You've received numerous awards, including Best Distributor at Kidscreen, Best Distributor at Cartoon Forum last year. I voted for you. And Best TV France International Animation Exports. But there's another less well-known musical side to you. Now, you're a bassist in a band that you also manage, and together with your wife, you've run a dance school in the suburbs of Paris for 20 years. How do you fit all this in?
That's a good question. I don't know. The rock band might seem to be a bit far from this industry and from the business. That's true, but it's also somehow linked because managing a rock band is pretty much like managing a group of talents and a team in a company. You have to manage all the different egos, the different talents. So I'm practicing some of the management skills there, and it's sometimes a bit difficult and a headache, but it's for the best because I think music is bringing people together, as we say, and also performing on stage is a good experience because sometimes we have to do that in our business, give speech on stage. So I think working on this kind of feeling is also practicing this kind of feeling is important, I would say. And so yes, it's also encouraging me for having new ideas and being creative. And you are, and regarding the dancing school, actually, it's true. I launched it with my wife. She's a professional dancer, and when she asked me 20 years ago, I think we shared it's a dancing school. I want to say it's a school specialized for children, and that's how we got, we share the same passion of entertaining kids. And I think there is the same joy of receiving a letter from a child that has enjoyed one of your cartoon or one of your series. And that's really rewarding, all the efforts we are making. And that's really cheerful. And I recently received an email from a lady who became a nurse because she had seen one of our series, Once Upon a Time Life, and that really inspired her when she was a child. And I think that's really the beauty of our job. and to bring passion to kids. And it's the same with the dancing school. When you see all these children, and I'm very happy actually to see more and more boys also practicing dance. It's also very, very nice to see all the passion they have, and we are creating wonderful memories that they will remember for the rest of their life. So I think there is really something in common there, both the dancing school and the rock band.
No, I'm sure. And you said something interesting there about the lady who wrote to you because she became a nurse having seen one of your series. Was there any shows when you were younger that inspired you to get involved with kids animation and kids TV?
I think when I was a child, there was very, very few slots for kids on TV. I think it was probably an hour per day, and we were waiting for that moment. And I think kids can now they just have to push a button and then they have tons of cartoons. But that was really a moment where we're waiting after school. And they were mostly on French television. So I grew up in France. It was mostly American series and or Japanese series. And I think I recognize in the Japanese anime the fight against injustice, and that's really inspired me. And the cartoon series from Hanna-Barbera really got me. And although I have to say, television in general was not a big thing in my home for my parents. I mean, they were not really pushing me in front of TV, and I thank them for that. They pushed me to practicing sports and cultural activities, but television was really not a big thing. And actually, we were probably one of the last home where we had black and white television.
Really?
We changed to color TV when I was maybe 9 years old. So I remember the first time I discovered the real color of Elmo. I think that was a big thing.
Right.
It was a big moment for me. And yes, and I think it's probably how I came to be willing to work in the television, because that was really, when I was looking at TV, it was mostly in my friend's place at friends when I was visiting them or having a sleepover. And that was like a great moment of joy and something that you really, there was really a passion about that. And it was a really great moment. So I think that's how this idea of working in the television industry came from.
Okay, so it was basically sort of through your friends and seeing stuff in colour for the first time that really sort of got you interested in, kids TV and animation. How did you go from there? Did you study animation or study TV and media?
Yeah, well, I first started. I studied management and economics. I think my father really wanted me to work for a big corporate. I was training at Air France, but I found it very boring, to be honest. And then I became a teacher after I graduated. And I was just for 1 year before my national duty. I did the army. It was mandatory at that time in France. But being a teacher was great. But I found that if I was at school and then university and then become a teacher, I would not have the chance to see the world. So being in the army was a bit painful for sure, but also it was the time where I had the chance to the opportunity to look at what I would like to do and in the future. And I think that's where I had the idea of working in the cultural sector. And probably at that time, cinema in France was a bit elitist. So I decided to obtain to make a diploma in television. And then I had the chance to do an internship at Tele Images, where it all started. Yeah. So that's how I started my career in the television industry. So after the army.
Okay, and
after this diploma.
So you just mentioned that you were an intern at Tele Images. Was Tele Images a company that you deliberately targeted, and you thought that's the kind of place I want to work, and you went along and tried to grab an interview?
Well, to be honest, I didn't have any particular connections in the TV industry, and I had the chance to obtain that internship thanks to a girlfriend at the time. But really, what I was really interested to work at Tele Images because the company was run by an iconic lady that was one of the first female producer in a very male environment at the time, and she was a great manager, Simona Hari. And it was the first ever company in France to produce a popular sitcom series, and I had a chance to after this internship, I did the internship in the legal team. Although I was not, I had some legal course at the university, but I didn't have a legal diploma. But that was what was offered at the time. So I took my chance, and then they opened up a position in the new international division as they were extending their distribution arm, and I applied for the job. At that time, it was Giovanna Milano, who became quite famous in the animation industry, and then I joined later at France Animation, and she was the head of the international distribution arm, and that's how I started in the distribution.
So you didn't quite fall into distribution, but you went into Tele Images. You took on a role in sort of more the legal side of things, which you didn't have the best qualifications for.
Yeah, but it was a great introduction to that sector and to the job, to study all the contracts, and which is a very key thing in our sector. So and then the international aspect was, of course, very interesting. If you are curious, if you have a curious mind, if you are open to other culture, and if you have a passion for programs.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and at the time we had some very interesting documentaries about wildlife and about history that I was really passionate about those programs. And then we got the distribution rights of some very popular animated series such as Skippy, or I remember Quasimodo as well, The Legend of Zorro, The Fruities. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Yeah, and also very a very popular series from Jonathan Schiff, the talented producer from Australia, Ocean Girl. There was not animation but live action that turned out to be a big success.
And you mentioned just now, was it Giovanni? You said the lady that you went across to France Animation, and you went there as well to set up the distribution arm in 1999.
Yeah. So she moved to France Animation, and then she was managing director, CEO of France Animation, and then 2 years after she launched an internal distribution division. And she asked me for the job, as we worked quite well together at the time of Tele Images. And although I had this passion for documentaries, it was a time where my daughters were 5 and 4, and I had this first experience also working with the animated series I mentioned. So I found that it was a very it was a challenge, but also to launch a new distribution division, but also a chance for me to set up a team and to and I found also interesting to work only with animation. I really liked documentaries, but the creativity that was behind animation, I think, was even more interesting than, and I could watch documentaries as a viewer, but as a professional, I think really animation has more diversity, more creativity, to be honest.
No, I completely agree with you. I think there's so much more that, I've worked in live action too myself, and you're always restricted by what you can physically do. Whereas in animation, there's nothing you can't do in animation. It's
and there's a lot of different style, a lot of different target group, and the people who are working there are really, most of the time, they feel very much the passion about entertaining kids, and they are staying there you have many people who are working there for many, many years, because they feel this, as I say, this passion for this genre.
Yeah. And you worked, France Animation, there was all sorts of mergers and corporate acquisitions, and after a while, you became president of worldwide distribution, consumer products and digital at Moonscoop. And Moonscoop was a child, if you like, of all those corporate mergers and acquisitions, wasn't it?
Was what? I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said it was a child. It was a very bad analogy. I apologise. But Moonscoop was something that came out of all, the sort of the acquisitions and mergers. As they came along, Moonscoop was delivered.
That's right. It was, it's true. It was merger with France Animation and acquisition. But it was also a way for me to work differently and to grow in this business, and to really think out of the box. We were really working as a team and across different perspectives of this business, not only purely distributing content, but also growing brands, which was quite new in France at that time. And not only thinking about distributing and selling contents to broadcasters, but also establishing new brands with consumer product, with also very early on at that moment also thinking about digital media, and I learned a lot during those years.
It sounds like you're quite innovative. You're approaching things in quite something which people do now all the time. It's that 360-degree approach to intellectual property, but you sounds like you were quite pioneering in that.
Yeah, that's I learned that years that it was it was my more than anything building a new brand on a global level on a 360 approach was really something not only interesting in a business term, but also intellectually, if you see what I mean. I mean, when you think about sending a content to a broadcaster for a lot of distributor, that is pretty much the end of the adventure. And for me, I learned at that time that it was actually not the end, but it was the beginning of something that you could create from this deal a lot more, and if the series become a success, then build from there a whole strategy with different components, including consumer product, and that was quite new in France at that time, as I said, with Code Lyoko, for instance, or Geronimo Stilton, we had this opportunity.
Okay, and it's you're doing new stuff, obviously, but the distribution market, the sales market, if you like, was quite a crowded market, wasn't it? There were a lot of people doing it. Did you have any personal strategies to make sure that people remembered you, people recognized you, knew who you were?
Yeah, that's true. I used to wear a white suit in all the markets, and that was kind of my personal marketing, so that people can recognize me. And I think it worked quite well. First, it was elegant, I would say. And secondly, it was maybe dangerous, but but also, it worked quite well, and I was recognized thanks to that.
Excellent. And you were there for that group for 10 years, very successful, doing new stuff, wearing your white suit. Everybody knew who you were. And then you decided to set up something new with APC. And so where did your relationship with your co-founders, Laurent Boissel and Emmanuel Gilbert, come from? Were they people you already knew?
Yeah, I knew Emmanuel Gilbert as she was the head of Lagardère Television. So basically, she was our client, and we were dealing together many series for the channel Canal J and Gulli. And then later she became a head of program at France Télévisions. And so we knew each other through that link, and we shared the same vision of the industry, meaning that at Moonscoop were a kind of a Walmart in distribution. I remember at the time we licensed about 8 shows per year in Germany. About the same number in Italy, Spain. We had about 20 different properties in France, and pretty much the same in the UK. And I think I really wanted to create my own company with a different vision, pretty much the opposite. That would be very boutique, very focused on very few properties that I will have selected, with underlying the importance of the relationship with the producer, and I mentioned building brands as well, and I think it's something you can't do on 10 series. It's something you can build a brand. It requires a lot of time and efforts, and you have to focus your effort on very few properties if you want to be successful. And this boutique approach Emmanuel also had this in mind for on the fiction side, on the drama side. So that's how we very soon after Moonscoop and for her after France Télévisions, where we were both on the so quite large companies. We thought it was a time of for a new type of companies, as I said, much more focused, much more with a focused mind, with this boutique approach, and that's how we came to work together.
Okay, I understand. And you mentioned, working with producers just then, and the relationship between a distributor and someone like yourself who's out there selling to all the territories around the world, and their different desires and needs and culturally what works and what doesn't work. And so that relationship between producer and distributor can sometimes be a little bit difficult, because the producer wants to do what the producer wants to do. They've got a creative vision for a series and a character and a story. And that sometimes might be a little bit of friction between what the market wants and what the producer wants. The two don't always sit nicely together. So, and APC's been a co-producer on projects for a very, very long time. So was that one of the reasons that, you set up your own animation studio in Zephyr so that you could work collaboratively from the very start on the projects?
If I go back a little bit, on that, I think on this relationship, on this question of the relationship between producer and distributor, you're right. It's key to if you want to make a success. This good relationship this close relationship between a distributor and producer is definitely key, and I don't see one series or one property that has not become a success without this strong and close relationship. It's true, sometimes they have different visions, but nevertheless, the communication is key, and the understanding on both sides is key to turn a series into an established brand. And we have done, so to say, co-pro distribution deals. So it was quite organic to become real co-producer and true co-producer on projects. And our partners we were working with as a distributor were not only looking for a distribution partner, but also on a company that would be able to develop with them, to bring input on the creative side, so that the project can become more appealing for the international market. And also, as we know, financing is key, and animation is very expensive. So to have a partner that would be not only able to distribute, but also to finance and, as I said, bring creative ideas was very key for them. So that's how we became quite organically co-producer and on the projects we were working on.
No, I completely understand. And Zephyr presumably was, again, a natural extension of that, to have your own studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Although we are not a studio, as so to say, we work with different studios. We want to be agile and to be able to work with on different style and with different studios, depending on what is working best for the project. And there are a lot of very talented studios in the world, not only in France. So we want to be able to work with the best studio, depending on the project. So we act as a co-producer without being a studio.
Okay, I completely understand.
This podcast is made possible thanks to the support of the awesome Libery Consulting. Libery offers specially tailored industry-related training courses. Check them out at liberyconsulting.com. That's LIBERI consulting.com. You can also find links to their fantastic courses on the Festivus website.
Looking at sales and co-productions and finding those partners, do you think co-production markets like Cartoon Forum and Aniseed even, since the streamers have pared back their investment in animation, and then although those places, they're expensive to attend those conferences, and in a world of sort of Zooms and remote working, do you think that those in-person meetings, wearing your white suit, obviously, are very, very important, more important now than maybe they were a couple of years ago?
They are. I totally agree with you, because we are at a moment where we need a lot of partners on a project to finance them, and at the market you can actually at those co-production market, like as you mentioned, Cartoon Forum and Nancy. It's a great opportunity to bring all the different talents together and share, all different ideas and different plans, understand the different requirements. And you will not be able to do that on a Zoom. And it's great to have those opportunities during the year to actually bring people who are interested in the same project together, and to create a momentum for the financing of your project. So I think they are truly expensive, but they are even now more important, as co-production is key in our time to be able to raise the financing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, again, speaking personally, I quite like the idea of seeing people and sitting down with them with a coffee or maybe even a glass of wine and actually talking through the projects face to face, as opposed to, on a computer screen. I also think if speaking as an Englishman, if you make the effort to go to France or to go to America or go to wherever it is, if you can find the money, I think that shows a real desire to work with people and co-produce with people outside your own territory.
Yeah, and you can, as I said, you can actually on the at Kids Screen or in San Diego or in Annecy or in Toulouse during Cartoon Forum, you can actually bring people to sit together and create this energy and this timing, making the timing right to finalize the financing of a project, and this can happen only during those moments.
And picking up stuff from markets and talking to people all the time, and looking forward into the future a little bit, we know that, certainly older children are looking more and more towards YouTube and getting onto Roblox and new digital platforms for their content, certainly in the UK and the US. Do you see that as a worldwide trend? Do you see it that older kids all over the world beginning to going onto YouTube and Roblox? And if that's the case, as a distributor, how do you think it's going to affect the market?
I think it's you're right. It's happening more in the US and the UK now. I have the example of a niece who's living in the US, and she's 9 years old, and she doesn't know what a channel is. And I told her I was working with a TV channel, and she said, "What is a TV channel?" So I think this can tell you where we are now, and I think this is it will come as a global trend. I think we can see that as a chance to create more awareness on our brands and on our series, to extend this relationship with viewers, and at the same time, the great challenge that is in front of us is, in a world where, how can we create new projects and new brands with those platforms? Because at the moment they are not financing anything. They are just an exposure, a way to expose and to show extension of our brands. And we have the chance in Europe to still have very crucial public broadcasters, also commercial broadcasters, say Super RTL Super in Germany, or Gulli in France, Canal Plus, Sky in the UK, ITV, and it's a great chance because we can still work together on create new contents. But in the future, how can we build and finance series with the YouTube or the Roblox? That is a challenge in front of us.
A challenge, absolutely. And do you think, the way that YouTube works commercially, and as you just said, they don't put any money into projects. Do you think there's a chance that might change? They might start putting some money into series and things like that?
I think they will have to at some point, because you can't live only on existing brands.
No, and something new content. I mean, we've obviously had a bit of a cutback in the amount of investment into new shows, and there's been a lot of desire from broadcasters for what they call legacy IP, stuff that has some kind of connection or attraction to an audience, be it something that's existed or exists on YouTube or on TikTok or something, or some traditional story that people will instantly know. But I believe quite firmly that new content is going to be needed relatively soon. Because, as you just said, we can't rely on stuff that's already there forever.
Exactly. And when you look at the success of Bluey recently, it was built with thanks to traditional broadcasters and platforms as ABC, Disney, and I think it won't have lasted, it won't have established without those networks. As I say, the biggest challenge we have in front of us is how can we make a new Bluey with those new platforms? Is it possible? Would they have to change their model at some point?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of pressure all over the world for them to do that. Here in the UK, we had a conference earlier in the year where that was, exactly what was said to them, that this can't carry on forever. We're not going to be able to, as producers, deliver content to YouTube, to your platform, unless there's some kind of commercial investment from you guys, because we can't make it out of nothing.
Yeah.
That's coming to the end of our chat now, and looking back at your professional life, I wanted to ask you just a couple of sort of questions. So, what do you think over the years, what do you think the best piece of either creative or business advice that you have ever been given by somebody?
I think once Giovanna and Milano told me never be happy with a deal that you received. I think that was very, very good lesson that I always try to follow nowadays. Since that moment, I'm sorry. When you receive, and I'm never happy when I close a deal. I always feel a bit there was something that I could have done better. And it's more on the business side, but kind of advice. But I think it's worse considering it. And what was your other question? Sorry.
It was just whether there was any creative advice that you've ever been given. I mean, something that somebody said to you, if you can find these two things in a project, it's a guaranteed success. I suppose if somebody had said that to you, then you'd have just done it anyway.
I don't think there is a recipe for success, but in terms of creative, I think the importance of creating emotional journey to see an emotional journey for the different characters of your live action series or your animation is and have character driven stories is key to success. And when you look at shows that have worked well, there are always this ingredients in the series of great emotional arcs, great emotional journeys that people can rely to, and also the characters of your shows have to be the one that leads the stories, not having only plot-driven stories.
The character-driven stories, yeah, okay.
Yeah, character-driven stories and emotional journeys.
And what do you think, again, looking at Lionel, starting as an intern all those years ago, and knowing what you know now, what advice would you have given yourself at the beginning of your career?
Stay curious. Go to people who are not necessarily people you already know, but people maybe that you don't feel you don't feel very comfortable with, or try to work this kind of relationship. Don't stay only with the friends that you have in the industry, but try to work your relationship that might be a bit more difficult. I think that's always rewarding.
Okay. And my final question, most important question, do bassists have the biggest ego in a rock band?
Oh, no. I like the fact of working. I mean, it's not the instrument that you listen. I mean, you can hear, but if it's not there, it's not working. And I like this idea.
Very, very well put. Lionel, thank you so much. I know how crazy busy you are, and I really, really appreciate you giving up this time to chat. It's been a real pleasure.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you very much, Julian.
Like I said at the start, a fascinating insight into a hugely successful career. And we'll be expecting to see the Marty family pop up on Europe's Got Talent in the near future. Our thanks to Lionel for his time, and look forward to a renaissance of the white suit at the markets. Why not do as the man says? Stay curious and like, subscribe and share the podcast. And the show wouldn't happen at all without the wonderful work of Janet Balmforth at Liberia Consulting for her incredible organisational skills, to Julian Scott at Film London for his charm, wit and talent as our host. Find out more about Film London at filmlondon.org.uk. And the edit skills of Odelia Sickinger, who is also an awesome kids development and production executive. Find her on LinkedIn. Thank you all, and see you in the funny pages.